This is my gated manual Audi R8 V10 Spyder. I've had it a little over a year and it's been the best, most exciting driver's car I've ever owned. I wanted to start off by saying this isn't really going to be a car review. I just want to jump in, have some fun with you guys and show you what I love about this car. But I have noticed that a lot of reviewers start out just like this, with the car parked. They go over the exterior, they go over the interior, go over all the quirks and features, and then at the very end, they jump in and drive it. I wanted to switch this up and just hop right in and drive it with you guys because that's the best part of this car, and I'm excited to show you. So let's go. So here we are driving the R8. It's comfy when you're just cruising, and visibility is pretty much as good as you can get with the top down, so it's an easy to drive car. And one of my favorite things actually about this car is you don't have to be at redline to have fun. Everything from the engine noise to the shifting of the gears, it's an enjoyable experience even when you're not on the limit. But when you do want to drive fast, and when you hit a downshift and go for it, that's where the driving experience that I was talking about really comes into play. Like this. Overwhelmingly, the first thing you probably noticed there was the screaming V10. This is a 5.2 liter V10 shared with the Lamborghini Gallardo. In this car, it makes 525 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. And it revs out to 8,500 RPM. Another thing you probably noticed was the active aero wing going up. So this car does have a small little lip that lifts up. Once you reach over 100 kilometers an hour, it automatically comes up, and then as you slow down, I think you have to go down to 30 or 40K, it'll come back down on its own. And if you want to flex, you can put the wing up manually with a button on the center console. So initially, I actually wanted a coupe, and I get a lot of comments like that where people say, oh, sick car, but if only it was a coupe. And I kind of agree from a design standpoint. Aesthetically, the coupe does look nicer, and this car with the top up looks a bit fugly. And when I actually saw this car, I told the dealer, if you ever get a gated coupe, to let me know. But over the next couple days, I sort of convinced myself to go with this car because I was like, it's a V10 manual with a drop top. That experience must be wild. And I'm so glad I did, because the drop top honestly ties this whole thing together and makes the experience that much better. And paired with the gated manual transmission, certifies this car as a future classic in my opinion. While there's a few manual V10 cars out there, this platform, the R8 and the Gallardo, are the only gated manual V10 cars ever produced. There's not that many of them. Only 5% of V10 production R8s were manual. Another thing I love about this car is the steering wheel. I much prefer smaller, skinnier wheels over, like, I feel like a lot of new M cars are kind of fat, and yeah, I like a smaller wheel. This one isn't too small, but it's definitely a nice thickness, and of course it has the flat bottom style, which is cool as well, so that's something I really like. And speaking of steering, I've heard from a few people, including the previous owner of this car, that have said that the steering feel is a bit numb. The previous owner of this car was super into 997 generation Porsche and has a lot of experience in that area, so in that context he's probably right, but in my experience it feels great. I love the sensitivity, I love how it feels, and every steering input I do, I can really feel its effect on the front wheels. So to me, the steering is great. Power is put down using Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system. And what really excites me about a driver's car is the fact that it kind of wants to kill you at all times. So all-wheel drive is typically not my go-to, but in the Gen 1 R8, the Quattro system isn't like your normal all-wheel drive car. The torque split varies, ranging anywhere from 85% to the rear and 15% to the front, all the way to 30% to the front and 70% to the rear. So it's really the best of both worlds because you can still have some fun and swing it around like a rear-wheel drive car, like this. But as you come out of the slide, the front wheels start to get power and literally you're pulling you out of the slide, and makes it honestly a really fun system to play around with and gives you confidence, so that's great. So in typical car reviewer fashion, I'm gonna pull over up here and we'll go over that exterior. All right, looking at the outside. Obviously, it's one of the most iconic cars of at least my generation, featuring in multiple movies, most famously Iron Man, but also some others like 17 again. Regardless of the successful marketing campaign, it's also just aged beautifully. And it's no longer controversial to say that this generation looks better than the newer generation of R8. And I think it'll continue to just age like a fine wine for the next 10, 20 years and will still look fantastic. Partially thanks to these headlights. Not only did they start the next generation of Audi design, but they were the very first instance of daytime running lights with LEDs, which has massively influenced the car market today with all new manufacturers using LEDs. On the side, the first thing a R8 fan's gonna notice is the lack of a side blade here. And it's kind of sad because it's such an iconic part of the R8, but it wouldn't have really played into the Spyder design language very well. So instead, you just get the side vent molded into the body here, which is still kind of nice because now there's no side blade distracting from the vent. So you see only the functional part, and it almost makes you more aware of that big side vent on it. And even though you don't have a big carbon side blade, there's actually more carbon here than on the coupe. And that's because to offset the weight from the convertible, Audi replaced the aluminum rear quarter panels with carbon fiber ones. That being said, the Spyder still weighs more than the coupe variant, but by just over 100 pounds or so. Another thing missing back here is on the coupe, you'd have a rear window showing you the V10 engine. That's also sad because it's awesome to see your engine, but on the Spyder, you get these vents for heat dissipation, which is one of my favorite visual cues of the Spyder because it just makes this rear end look so much more aggressive. And if you want to try and get a peek of the engine, you can open this rear deck lid, and if you really look in there, you can start to see the V10, but for the most part, you just see the engine cover that says V10 FSI. If you, funny enough, had more money than sense, you could option this cover in carbon fiber, but my car doesn't have it. Another thing I want to talk about are these wheels, because when I first got the car, I felt like the R8 is such a timeless design, and this wheel design was the only thing aging it, and I almost swapped them out. But I did think about it for a while, and they've honestly grown on me so much. I feel like out of all the OEM wheel options, these are the iconic R8 wheels that this car is known for, so I've left them on, and they look great on my silver car. Silver wheels, silver car looks good, so I'm happy I kept them. Before we step in, I wanted to go over the differences between the V10 R8 and the V8 R8 visually so that you can tell what is what when you see it on the road. So starting back here, the exhaust. On the V10, on the pre-facelift, you have these oval exhausts, dual exit, one on either side, pretty straightforward. But on the V8, you have a quad exhaust setup with two pipes coming out of each side. And so that's one thing you can look for. Another thing is this aggressive black painted bumper area. On the V10, it's black, and on the V8, it's paint match. So if you have a white car, the whole bumper is going to be white instead of with this black middle section. If we go around to the side, on the V10, you have a V10 badge on the fender area here. Obviously, on the V8, you wouldn't have a V10 badge, but funny enough, on the V8, there isn't even a V8 badge. There's just nothing here at all. So that's another thing to look for. And swinging around to the front, I think the only thing to note up here is that on these vents under the headlights, on the V10 you have 2 slats. On the V8 you'd have 4, which I like this a lot better. I think the 2 slats look a lot more aggressive. So stepping inside, the interior is pretty straightforward. It's very Audi-esque, but at the same time it's unique to the R8, so looks pretty nice, but nothing crazy. One thing that stands out to me as an R8 feature is the gauge cluster here. The rest of the interior being very much Audi, this is very unique in the sense that it's all aluminum finished and the glass on top is even shinier than usual. I know that sounds weird, but it just is. The And the digital display in the center is a bit dated, but has some cool features like track telemetry and stuff like that. And obviously you have the tach on the left, speedometer on the right, all the other gauges here. And yeah, that stands out as a nice feature of the inside. So center console here, pretty self-explanatory, nothing crazy. You have this center screen, which is useless. It's so dated, I basically never use it. I don't know if there's any cool features. It has nav, but I have a phone, so. Which brings me to my least favorite feature about this car. It has no Bluetooth audio. This is a 2011 Audi, it's their Halo car. Lexus in 2009 had Bluetooth in some of their IS models. I don't get it. So instead I have to use a cord. I don't even know if this is an aux cord. It's a very odd plug-in that goes in the center console, and that's what I had to order to play my music in my Audi R8 V10, which sucks, but first world problems, so it's whatever. And obviously you have the gated shifter in the middle, which looks great and sounds great while you're driving or even just parked. You can just play with the stick. It's a lot of fun. Another thing I don't love about the interior of this car are these seats. There's nothing really inherently wrong with them. They're comfy, but they just don't look all that special and they're not that sporty. There were some Audi wingback options in other markets, but that wasn't available in North America. So unfortunately, we're stuck with these regular traffic seats. And with that, it pretty much sums up everything I wanted to show you on my Audi R8 V10. It's a beautiful, timeless car that'll always hold a special place in so many car enthusiasts' hearts. And it's just a great blend of modern tech and all the best parts of the past with gated manual transmissions and naturally aspirated large engines. And for those reasons, it's the best driver's car I've ever owned. And honestly, I don't know where to go from here. In the price range of 100 to 200 grand, everything else feels like a downgrade. So I guess I'll just have to get my money up and wait for a 675 LT or a Murcielago. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna keep driving this thing, so have a good one.